It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all as we launch Kenya's Macro-Fiscal Analytic Snapshot.
The purpose of this document primarily is to facilitate an active and informed public discourse on the economy and public finances. And this document has been developed through an in-depth analysis, scrutiny, interpretation and dissemination of publicly available information on Kenya's economy and public finances to develop an analytical yet a very solid and compact report. This snapshot will also give feedback on what we think would be the key messages for 2023 and issues that we seek to monitor as a think tank, and giving them out to Kenyans to look at them and monitor as we continuously put our government to account, and also give the government feedback and give them insights on what they need to look at with regards to the economy.
It's my pleasure to take you through the macro and debt section. And I will start with the macro fiscal indicators. And going to 2023, we foresee a situation where the economy could grow at a rate of 5%, contrary to government projection of 6%. And we attribute this first to climate change related challenges. And we also have a predicted global economic slowdown, economic growth. Then we also paid keen attention to our fiscal deficit, where government in fiscal year 2023-2024 is targeting to reduce the deficit to 4.2%, of which it's really ambitious. Then regarding public debt, we have seen government is still trying to borrow more and more. And we also foresee a situation where the debt therefore could exceed the forecast for 2023-2024 as per the macro poverty outlook. And this is because first, we expect growth setback, and this growth also in debt to finance the 2023-2024 budget as it has been proposed in the draft BPS. That could also lead to a rise in public debt. Then we also looked at investment and also GDP now in details. And the outlook for growth and investment is better than originally predicted at the outset of the COVID crisis. And Kenyan economy demonstrated a strong resilience by bouncing back from a contraction of 0.3% in 2020 to above 7% in 2021. But we expect a slowdown in 2023. We also looked at recovery in the consumption and poverty, and we realized that consumption per capita, that is consumption per person, has remained quite low compared to the levels that were projected before the pandemic. Our other area was fiscal consolidation. And in 2023-2024, we expect the government to reduce expenditure and also to try and cut fiscal deficit. When we now monitor fiscal deficits and public debt, we see there is a signal that government could be pursuing fiscal consolidation. When we look at revenue targets versus the actuals, that is outturn, we can see government is now more realistic in terms of setting revenue targets compared to previous experiences. And another thing that we came to observe is that tax expenditures in Kenya have progressively declined, but now what we want to see moving forward is an assessment being undertaken on economic implications of these tax expenditures. Then revenue optimism has been driving the country into more borrowing, because we set very high revenue targets and then we fall short of those targets and we end up borrowing more. On the expenditure side, real expenditure is stagnating and real per capita spending has declined. Government has also indicated that transfer to counties will also decline. We have an inflation currently that is above 90%, and we are adding 1.4% to the counties. So in real terms, counties are losing money. Large fiscal deficits and the build-up of public debt has been as a result of revenue optimism. And then because of that, there has been erosion of fiscal buffers.
The report, as we did the research, we zeroed down on a few sectors that we took a deep dive to see how they're impacted by these inflationary pressures and also fiscal consolidation that are being undertaken. How has been disbursement of foreign aid into the Kenya, and what role does foreign aid play in the financing landscape in Kenya? From 2016, you can see that 2020 is the highest, which means that there has been increase in foreign aid in Kenya, in the financing landscape in Kenya, than it has been in 2020 than it has been in the previous years. This is about 4% of GDP of the foreign assistance that is coming into the country. And we are looking at the largest funder or donor for Kenya has been the World Bank, IMF, and United States, providing over 70% of total foreign aid that's flowing into the country. About 24% of total health spending in this country is out of pocket. And for any country to achieve universal health coverage, out-of-pocket expenditure should not be more than 20%. Another thing that we looked at is performance of budgets at national level and county level. And it's surprising that there is a very low absorption of health budgets at county level, especially the development budget. And from our findings, it shows that on average, 56% is of development budget at county is only the portion of the budget that is being absorbed. About recurrent expenditure, that one, the absorption is quite fair, is within the accepted good practice norms. We also looked at what are those reforms, what are those institutions, what are those guidelines and policies in the public finance space that are likely to affect how the management of the economy and management of public finances is being undertaken. And one of the things that we found out, we have observed that the budget process is ongoing. We have just seen the draft policy statement come out, which sets out the priorities of Kenya Kwanza government and has called for public participation and opinions. We also say that Parliament should expedite the approval of audit reports.
We are going to track some of these issues highlighted here. One is whether the government sticks to its fiscal consolidation plan, and then whether projected increases in revenue come to pass. Then whether the IMF downgrades Kenya risk of debt distress. So because of the sustained economic growth, we anticipate that the debt distress is going to reduce from a high debt distress to a medium debt distress. Will give investors confidence, there'll be more investment, and there will be a steady growth in the economy. The impact of fiscal consolidation on county government finances, and finally, the evolution of health budgets. As we have mentioned, there is a significant increase in the proposed BPS from 121 billion to about 148 billion, but still, as a proportion of the total budget, this is not in line with the required threshold. So how much is the government spending in the health budget as we pursue UHC? The NHIF reforms, is the government committing to provide exchequer releases towards NHIF to support and increase the contribution by members. So those are our thoughts and issues that we are going to monitor and our key messages.
I would like to welcome our CEO to officially launch and release this report, the Macro-Fiscal Analytical Snapshot Kenya, focusing on the financial year 2022-2023.